According to the United Nations, India claimed the title of the most populous country in the world in 2023. Now, where do you think the United States stands in this ranking? Surprisingly, it's at number 3. Considering that America is the 4th largest country by size, occupying about 6% of Earth's landmass, you'd think there's plenty of room for its 335 million residents, right? Well, not exactly. The population of the US is spread quite unevenly. Picture this: draw a line straight through the middle of the country from North Dakota in the north down to Texas in the south. Crunch some census numbers and here's the jaw-dropping revelation: a whopping 80% of the US population resides to the east of this imaginary line. The remaining 20%? They're living it up on the western side. That's just 1 in 5 Americans. We're talking about thriving metropolises like Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco contributing to this geographical imbalance. Skeptical? Take a peek at a satellite map of the US at night. The right side? Shining bright. But why such a stark contrast? Well, let's dive into history and geography. The East Coast, the birthplace of U.S. independence in 1776, marked by the original 13 colonies, became the epicenter of early settlement. As pioneers and settlers ventured westward, a pivotal moment came with the Louisiana Purchase, shaping what we now call the Midwest. This vast region, intertwined with the Mississippi watershed, boasts fertile soil, a haven for agriculture. But does fertile soil automatically translate to a surge in population? The demographic landscape of the U.S. unveils a fascinating reality: the majority of its citizens choose to call either the East or the West Coast home. This leaves a vast expanse of land in the middle, a testament to the historical patterns of settlement. So, as you gaze at the luminous sprawl of the U.S. at night, it's not just city lights, it's a tapestry woven with threads of history, geography, and human migration. The tale of America, etched in its population distribution, is a captivating journey through time and space. Midwest, you'll notice it's not just vast expanses of empty land, it's a tapestry of potential waiting to be woven. This region, often referred to as America's underpopulated belt, spans from the Canadian border in the north to Mexico in the south. Imagine this: the total surface area of this strip is a staggering 350,000 square miles, which is twice the size of California. Picture one massive piece of land stretching as far as the eye can see. Surprisingly, this narrow strip accounts for a substantial 12% of the contiguous United States, and by that, I mean the US without Alaska and Hawaii. The belt runs through 7 states, creating a corridor with a unique story. Yet, despite its vastness, the population density here is strikingly low, making up only 1% of the total US population. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a deserted wasteland. Just over 3 million people call this area home, which, by the way, is roughly the population of the entire island country of Jamaica. But here's the kicker: there's room here for many more residents. To put things in perspective, let's take Nigeria. Its total land area is slightly larger than the sparsely inhabited belt, yet Nigeria's population is a staggering 206 million people, making it the 7th most populated country on the planet. Impressive, right? So, why isn't the American Midwest living up to its potential? Well, let's take a stroll through history one more time. I've touched on how the United States expanded from the East Coast to the West Coast, but that doesn't mean the West was lagging far behind. Look at cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles. They were incorporated in 1850, just 13 years after Chicago. The following year, Portland, Oregon joined the party. You get the picture. Then, in 1869, the United States completed building its first transcontinental railroad. In terms of transportation, the country was unified. So here's the intriguing part. There's no historical reason strong enough to explain why so few people live in the center of the country. It's not for lack of resources or opportunities. Now, let's delve into some fascinating geography to understand this vast, underexplored region. Most populous state in the country, but why the difference? The answer lies not just in climate but in historical choices and events. Now, let's break down the geography and history that shaped this region. If you take a look at a physical map of the United States, this belt is neatly situated in the Great Plains. As the name suggests, it's a vast, flat expanse. On the eastern side, there's a significant patch marked in brown, indicating mountains. But these aren't your average mountains, these are the Rockies. This mountain range, roughly 76 million years old, boasts several peaks soaring over 14,000 feet. Most of the Rockies are designated national parks, forming a vast nature reserve. However, their most crucial role is in shaping the region's climate. Ever heard of the rain shadow effect? Let's unpack it. weather systems originating over the Pacific Ocean travel eastward until they encounter the Rockies. As the air is forced to ascend over the mountains, it cools and condenses, resulting in abundant rain and snow on the western side of the range. By the time this air reaches the Great Plains, it carries significantly less moisture. In fact, it starts pulling moisture from the surrounding landscape. This creates an arid climate east of the Rockies, precisely where the sparsely inhabited belt sits. So, why did settlers choose to bypass this region in the 19th century? Well, a couple of factors played into this decision. First, there was the lure of California during the gold rush. The promise of striking it rich drew people westward, bypassing the challenging climate of the plains. Moreover, the climate in this part of the plains isn't ideal for agriculture. The large fluctuations in air temperature, with a single day swinging from 70 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, pose challenges for settlers. Such abrupt changes can be harsh on human health, akin to stepping into an air-conditioned room on a scorching summer day, an experience not everyone finds pleasant. On the other hand, Southern California also has a dry climate, yet it's home to close to 40 million people. So, why the difference in population density? The answer lies not just in climate but in the choices made by settlers and the events that unfolded in history. Let's unravel the intriguing story that shaped the settlement patterns in this region. Are they doing in terms of population distribution? Paris is home to a whopping 19% of the country's population, and the urbanization rate is around 80%, with many people living in major cities like Lyon, Marseille, and Toulouse. So it's not as evenly spread as you might think. Now let's hop over to Asia, specifically China. With a population exceeding 1.4 billion, one might assume that every corner of China is teeming with people. But surprise, surprise, there's a stark difference between the densely populated eastern part and the sparser western regions. Cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou are bustling with activity, while vast areas in the west see fewer inhabitants. So why do we tend to huddle together in certain areas, leaving others relatively empty? Well, it boils down to climate, historical events, and the availability of resources. We, as humans, seek comfort, and that often means gravitating towards areas with moderate climates. Places that are too extreme in terms of temperature, either too cold or too hot, tend to have smaller populations. Look at Australia with its vast uninhabited interior, or consider the sparser regions of the Great Plains in the United States. Moreover, historical events such as the gold rush in California or the rapid development of major cities play a significant role in shaping settlement patterns. Cities become magnets for people, offering opportunities, amenities, and cultural attractions. So, next time you look at a map, consider the factors that contribute to population distribution. It's not just about available space, it's a complex interplay of climate, history, and human preferences. And while we might not fill every corner of the map, the way we choose to populate our planet tells a fascinating story of our journey through time and across landscapes. Now Paris, that's a heavy hitter, boasting over 12 million residents in its metropolitan area. But here's where it gets interesting. Brace yourself for this staggering fact: the next two cities on the list? A mere 2 million each. Quite the imbalance, huh? Now, this isn't just a European quirk. Take Greece, for instance. A solid 35% of the population hangs out in Athens, the capital. It's a trend, a pattern, and it's not exclusive to Europe. Let's swing back to the good old US of A. We've got this underpopulated belt right in the center. Now, why is that? Well, America, the land of opportunities, tends to concentrate its population firepower in large cities. The top 100 metropolitan areas, drumroll please, contribute a whopping 3/4 of the nation's GDP. And where are these economic powerhouses? Mostly hanging out on the east and west coast. Surprisingly, there's a vast, underexplored land in the middle with no city boasting over 1 million residents. It's like the best-kept secret of the US. But hey, that's a tidbit for you to drop in your next trivia night. And that wraps up our city tour for today. If your curiosity is satisfied, drop a like, share it with your buddies, and if you're up for more, comment.